3 thumbs up, and I don't know how many people are out here, but we must have somebody. How are we all, guys? I'll just chat away until people join on. But for those of you watching later on, it's live stream night, Tuesday night, and what a week it has been. I didn't get a Sunday video out for you guys this week. I feel a bit bad, but I promise the one that we're working on is going to be worth it. This week, it's just can't get a break. Just came from TikTok about the funnel webs. Do I have any breeding setups for my insects to feed the arachnids? I breed mealworms. It's the only one that's within arm's reach, and they're pretty easy. I just keep them in a tub full of oatmeal. I do breed wood roaches, but that's about it. I can't be bothered breeding crickets. It takes too much patience. It's just easy to buy them. Starting when? When what? Evening. G'day, Basil. How are we? Now you're equals Tamara. Rami, I'll have to remember how to make you a mod on TikTok. It took me long enough to figure out how to make Tamara a mod on TikTok. I'll figure it out. Remind me next time. But yeah, you're all equals, yeah. So yeah, guys, it's been a big week. Like I said, I didn't get a video out on Sunday, but we're working on it. It'll be a cool video. Hi. You'll have to remove him from mod here. Oh, this if you ever meet in real life, it's gonna be carnage. But yeah, so I've actually had today and tomorrow off. My little one is sick. We went away for a night because we had to sell a horse, and not reptile related, but we're away for the night. And my little girl started having sore eyes and got worse and worse and worse, and she's got conjunctivitis. So we're all locked down. We're not allowed to go away and out and see people because it's really contagious and gross. So yeah, it's been chaos. She hasn't slept well for the last couple of nights because the poor little girl's got itchy, gross eyes. So I'm tired. Might show tonight. Oh, Eccleston, how are you, Valerie? I hope you're recovering well from your surgery. Guys who are new and hopping on, Rami, Eccleston, Angel, Tamara, there's some of our fantastic Patreon supporters. I know I say it all the time, but we wouldn't be able to run without our Patreon supporters. And we do, of course, want to shout out Perth Reptile Relocations. They're one of our major channel sponsors, and they do a fantastic job rescuing, relocating snakes in Western Australia. Does Australia Zoo rehab many Australian creatures? They do. They've got the Australia Zoo Wildlife Hospital. I know they do an awful lot with koalas, but I'm sure they do a lot of animals. How much they actually raise and release themselves, I don't think they do too much. But what they do is they offer a facility that wildlife carers in the area can come and get professional veterinary advice, like the Hillsville Sanctuary do here. Staying up a wood roach setup, but I'm not the best if breeding. Feel up to it. Give me some tips. Wood roaches, I can't reach a wood roach colony from here. There's none in this room. But basically, I have big plastic tubs. Yeah, I don't have a tub to show you. But yeah, a big plastic tub. I paint the inside, top few inches with Fluon, which is like a Teflon paint. And just put a heap of egg crates in there. I throw a carrot in and a couple of dog biscuits or horse pellets or whatever dry food I've got at the time. And keep it warm. It's pretty easy. Hard parts, catching them out without them getting in. Have I been able to get my jabs? I haven't been able to get any jabs yet, Val. I've just become eligible. But yeah, we haven't been able to. It's obviously starting to take on because I was at the doctor's for a couple of hours yesterday trying to wait for my little tacker to see a doctor. And there was a line of people like around the corner. And I live in a small town who are all waiting to get their jabs. So I think we're now eligible. Just because I think they're lowering the age bracket. They were basically saying everybody over 60, now everybody over 50, and now they've said anybody can get it. So, yeah, we'll get ours soon. G'day, Kaleem, how are you? Thanks so much. I know it might not seem much at all, but the videos I found haven't explained anything. If you want to know more information about it, find us on Facebook. We're just Wicked Wildlife. The Australian Reptile Park milks Sydney funnel webs. Yeah, they're the only place in the world that milks Sydney funnel webs for antivenin production. There's a few places like James Cook University that milk funnel webs for pharmaceutical research, but antivenom production all comes from Sydney, from the Australian Reptile Park. But I suppose while we're chatting and while people are jumping on, guys, if you are hopping on, make sure you leave us a thumbs up. But we'll get out some snakes while we're chatting. Maybe we'll get out Nala. Nala hasn't been out last week. Coop, how are you? Guys, if you like my videos, check out Coop. He's another great Australian YouTuber. And a lot of people want me to cover husbandry and stuff like that. And really, my husbandry is pretty boring. I keep pretty plain enclosures because I'm always pulling them apart to take them out, show you guys, take them to events. Coop's got some cool naturalistic enclosures, which I'm working on. We're gonna build a big 6-foot tank in here. It's gonna move up the old 6-foot tank for the olive, but we're gonna build a new one in here. And I'm thinking about mock rocking the whole back of it for our olive python, which would be pretty cool. Let me know, would you like to see Nala, the mulga snake, or would you like to see our olive python? I'll leave it up to you. Just found out your mum has cancer. I'm very sorry to hear. Family just can't seem to catch a break. All the best wishes to your mum, Val. I hope you do get a break soon. Yeah, very, very sad to hear. When am I going to get the scrubby sexed? I'm in no hurry tomorrow. Like, I want to know for myself. Because you know me, I don't like surprises. I like to know things. But I'm in no hurry. And the longer you wait, the safer, the less risks of damage, things like that. Different setups for different needs. Yeah, spot on. Like, as we do more and more YouTube stuff and less shows, because let's face it, I don't know if shows are coming back anytime soon. We might do more natural setups. I'd like to do some cool outdoor setups. I want to put my diamond pythons outdoors, my Murray darlings outdoors, and I want to get southwestern carpets and have 3 outdoor enclosures in Victoria. Can we see the scrubby? Right. We'll get the scrubby out first, huh? Also have these small lid pellets on hand right now. Would they be appropriate food for roaches? Yeah, I'm not an expert, but I feed my roaches absolutely anything. And they seem to do fine on it. So yeah, the scrubby, we'll get the scrubby out first. Got to get something out. And the scrubby is, as a lot of you know, my favourite snake. So the scrub python's my favourite species. So I've always had a bit of a weakness for them. And this little girl was sent down from Queensland by friends of mine who knew that I've been waiting for a scrub python basically ever since I left North Queensland. So I call it a girl because we're hoping it's a girl. But we don't really know. We'll get her probed maybe in 6-12 months when she's got a bit of size on her. But she is steadily growing. Can we see the mammals and birds? How are they keeping? I can't bring any mammals or birds in here. They're just... I wouldn't like it either if I was a possum in a room full of pythons. So they don't particularly like it in here. And it's pitch black outside. Once I get the internet sorted, that we've got like Wi-Fi outside this room, and we're going to work on it. We can maybe do a live stream in one of the aviaries or in the wombat enclosure. But currently, the only way I could do that would be to take a video and then publish it. I can't go live out there. So it doesn't really work. But I will try and do more mammal and bird content. If you guys have a question about possums or wombats or birds, let me know and I can do a video on it. It's just live streams that are hard to do with them. Do I feed my lizards pellets? What type of Australian lizards do I have? I've got blue tongues, bearded dragons, shinglebacks, a lace monitor, a water dragon, a pink tongue skink. I think that's pretty much it at the moment. Harry the koala just turned 2. I've been desperately wanting to get back and visit Harry. So I feel bad for the folks at Southern Koala Rescue. Valerie, guys, like I said, is one of our patron supporters who is a koala fanatic, and who doesn't like koalas. But I've been trying to organise a trip to Brisbane for like a year, and we keep getting locked down. So I've reached out to my friends over in Adelaide and said, can I come and film over there? And then they lock us out. So I just can't get anywhere in Australia. I'm working on some koala videos. Val, I've got them written up. I just need a koala to film with. Those videos would be great. Yeah, I'd love to do more wombat and bird videos. Unfortunately, they don't do as well. Everybody wants to see snakes, but I'd like to do them. I just need like topics. So if you guys have questions about topics, good luck getting into Brisbane. I live 20 minutes from the border, not allowed. Spot on. It's it's crazy times. Some koala videos would be awesome. Yeah, I do have a bunch of koala videos up. They're not very popular, which is strange, but I do have a whole heap. We've got, a koala's really drunk on eucalyptus. How do koalas carry chlamydia? A koala's really functionally extinct. 5 things you can do to help koalas. I've got a bunch of koala videos up. Unfortunately, I've got another video that I filmed while I was there on 10 crazy koala facts. But when I got home, I realized I accidentally deleted fact number 3. So I've been sitting on this video where I've only got 9 of the 10 koala facts for like a year. And yeah, so, but I do have a bunch of koala videos coming out. I think there's even a playlist on our koala videos. Sorry for asking so many questions. Don't be sorry. That's what we're here for. Where do I get the Fluon from? I can't recall. But basically, I just Googled it. Fluon for sale. But find me on Facebook. We can chat more about it there. Do I have tree frogs? I keep magnificent tree frogs. I used to keep green tree frogs because everybody did. And I might get some more green tree frogs again because they're bulletproof and my kids like them. But yeah, magnificents are the only tree frogs. And Perrin's tree frogs. Woodroaches, can we see them? I don't have any handy, I'm afraid. They're pretty boring. They're just a little cockroach. They carry chlamydia, I heard, too, but what animals? Yeah, so koalas, a lot of koalas, not all koalas, but koalas are being pretty hardly impacted by chlamydia. It's decimating them in some areas. Some populations, between 60 and 90% of koalas in the population have got chlamydia. So, yeah. It's an issue for them. The strain of chlamydia they have, everybody goes, oh, how do koalas catch chlamydia? Confusingly, it's not actually it's not the same strain that human beings carry. It's actually the same strain that's found in livestock, in sheep. So it was introduced in Australia, and koalas have managed to get it through basically soil contact. An infected sheep pees on the soil, koala walks across and catches it from there. All right, Nala. So taking out something a little bit more serious, this is Nala, who's our king brown snake. She's starting to get some size on her. But so this girl here is the king brown or the mulga snake. So it's about about as big as any Australian venomous snake's going to get. Mulgas are capable of reaching that 3-meter mark. So they're a pretty big venomous snake. The coastal taipan officially trumps them in length. By an inch or two, but is Nala an Aboriginal name? Is that what it means? No, Nala is the queen from the Lion King, and my 3-year-old named her. So Nala is getting a big girl. Nala is a big girl. A friend of mine's got a male that he offered me, but I don't think I'm going to be able to afford to buy it. But having a Simba would be pretty cool. I just love the heads. Yeah, I know. I love all the black snake family are cool. Cool big heads, chunky snakes. Yeah, she's hard not to like. But yeah, so the mulga is a better name than king brown. We call them king brown. I use the word king brown just because I work in the agricultural sector and everybody knows what I mean when I say king brown. But it is misleading because she's not in the brown snake family. Hello, beautiful. She's not in the brown snake family. She's in the black snake family. So if you're bitten by a mulga, you need black snake antivenom. And black snake antivenom is made using king brown snake venom or mulga venom. So it gets a bit confusing. But at the end of the day, the name King Brown comes from the fact that she's a brown snake, but they're not all brown. King Browns from central Queensland are often brick red. King Browns from Alice Springs are spotty. But King Browns from the top end are usually plain sort of grey to brown like this girl here. She's from Kununurra in Western Australia. Or her grandparents would have been anyway. But the king part of her name comes from the fact that she's a snake eater. So think King Cobra. King Cobra is a snake eater, the King Brown is a snake eater. But the King Brown is, I consider them our big venomous snake. Because, look, yeah, coastal taipans might get a bit longer, but a 3-meter mulga would probably eat a 3-meter taipan. There's some pretty famous photos, if you follow reptile Facebook pages, of a massive mulga in captivity that was called the Kraken. And he would be as big as my olive pipe than a handle. He was a big, big snake. You're going to give everybody a kiss before I put her away? I'll put her away in a second because I can't read your questions while I've got a venomous snake out. So I'll put her away and I'll read some questions and comments and then we will get out another snake, eh? I think we're going to get a death adder out tonight actually, which we haven't got a death adder out for ages. So that'll be fun. Although they are adorable snakes. I don't think you can get a quokka. I've got the permits for a quokka, so I can keep quokkas. The only issue is quokkas can't come out of Western Australia anymore. So we're limited to the facilities that already have quokkas, breeding them and basically selling them or trading them with other keepers. And there's not many of them. Not many places keep quokkas. So yes, I can keep quokkas. I got the permits for them. A friend of mine has a single male, and he's been searching for a female for years. So any new leopards I'm hoping to get an inland taipan. An inland taipan is the only thing I'm really sort of would jump on. I've got a few death adders. Yeah, I do have a couple of death adders. Last question. Did I cut the lid out for some mesh? Yeah, I've got a fly mesh for the top of my roach colony, but it's that aluminium fly mesh. They'll chew through the fiberglass stuff. The last thing you want is, cockroach colony loose in your house. One about rat kangaroos. Rat kangaroos are very cool. Unfortunately, they're one that doesn't really exist in captivity. Do I have a quokka, Eccleston? No. So like I said, we don't have a quokka. A friend of mine in Adelaide, he's got a quokka. If I can get to Adelaide, I will try and do a video with it. You had a black-headed python. What about a water python? I had a black-headed python years ago. I don't have one anymore. Don't have water pythons either at the moment. Basically, at the start of COVID, we lost all our work. So I found homes for a few animals to try and lighten the load. Video on a parenti would be awesome, but you can't keep them, unlike spiny tails. Yeah, so parentis can't be kept here in Victoria. I've got a friend in Sydney who's pet parenti that's pretty tame. I know somebody in Sydney that said I can come out and film with his parenti. So, we will do a parenti video when I can get into New South Wales, but it doesn't look like things are getting a bit better in New South Wales anytime soon. Coop's, I don't know, in northern New South Wales somewhere. Coop works at the reptile park, so it can't be far from the reptile park. King Brown's one of your favourite? Yeah, King Browns are pretty cool. All right, I think we're caught up. Can you keep coastal taipans? Yeah, I've kept coastal taipans. A quokka's endangered. Quokkas, they're considered endangered. On Rottnest Island, the island where everybody gets their quokka selfies, they're really not in any trouble. They're considered endangered there because the island's only so big, there's only so many quokkas. But they're never going to disappear from Rottnest Island. But quokkas used to be found on the mainland of Australia, in Western Australia. And the mainland population of quokkas is almost extinct. There is only a handful left on the mainland. Want to see Coultars, Mulgaras, and Dunnarts. I don't keep any of those at the moment, but I do have a Dunnart video. Unfortunately, Coultars, Mulgaras, Kowaris is another small Dasyurid. They're very, very hard to film, and nobody really keeps them. So, do I keep mountain agama? I don't keep mountain dragons. Coop, if Coop's still around, he keeps mountain dragons. I used to keep and breed Jackie dragons, and I'm looking for them again, but I moved them on years ago, and I'm trying to find them back. So, yeah. Where's the snake? Where's the snake hook? All right. Kyle, what python would you say gave me the worst bite so far? The worst bite I've ever had, I've already got the scrub python out, so I won't get her out just for the sake of it, but the worst python, or the worst bite I've ever had in ever, and thank you very much for the support, Kyle. The worst bite I've ever had from any snake is a scrub python. I was bitten across the wrist by a scrub python in North Queensland in a fairly confined space, and there would have been 100 puncture marks in my wrist. So it was pretty bad, pretty sore, hurt for quite a while, but no scar, no nothing. You don't even have a good story to show for it. How big was the scrubby? It would have been a smidge over 4 meters. Big enough that I was removing it from a house, and I was 18 and I thought I was king of the world. I was bitten on the hand and it threw a coil over my other hands. So I wrapped my arms up and the next coil went around my head and I was in a roof cavity. And I had to waddle down this ladder and convince this screaming lady to unwrap me. And I was too embarrassed to charge her the call-out fee. I thought I was pretty cool rocking up to this young lady's house as the snake catcher. And I got, bring out seat CT. Which one's CT? CT. You'll have to embellish, mate. What about native ravens and crows? I'd love to do a video of ravens. I just don't know anybody who's got a tame one. Like, you've watched my videos, guys. The issue I've got with my videos is the videos that you guys like, and this is a video I like doing, is usually me holding an animal. So it's not like I can go out the bush and just catch one. Like, here's a raven that's picking my eyes out. I need somebody who's got a tame raven that they're hand raising or something like that. Oh, taipans. Yeah, unfortunately, we don't have a taipan at the moment. Yeah, we had a coastal taipan pass away a few months ago now. I don't have any taipans. I'm desperately looking for a couple of or for an inland if I can get my hands on one again. Came across the live broadcast and wanted to thank you for sending us the koala videos to my son. No worries, Kenneth Shirk. Kenneth Shirk, his son Cole, I think it's Cole Shirk. He does some cool wildlife videos. How did it die? We don't really know for sure, but we know we're assuming cancer of some sort. Basically, the issue with venomous snakes, there's not a great deal of vets who want to handle them, particularly in a regional area. You could x-ray it, and like she'd gone off her food, and she'd eat a little, get off her food, and we had a lot of issues with this type of eventually in an x-ray we found a couple of lumps, and one particularly large lump along its digestive tract. And that was as much information we could get, and we decided it wasn't going to get better. I didn't have access to anybody who was willing to do much more. Do my lizards have bad breath? Only when they don't brush their teeth. Ringtail possum and short-eared possum can I keep? I keep and breed ringtail possums, but not as tame as my red-tailed black cockatoo. Yeah, we don't want a bird to be quite as friendly as Rocco. Rocco, I don't know if you guys have seen, we've got a video out we put out last week with our red-tailed black cockatoo. He's well. Do you Komodo dragons did? I have bad breath. Please let me know. I wouldn't say any of them have particularly bad breath, but like I'm not sticking my head in their mouths. Maybe we'll get out a death adder for a minute, eh? Would you like to see a death adder? I'd like to have a wallaby. Is that possible? I don't want to say they make fantastic pets, but I do know people who keep wallabies, and I do know the Bennett's wallaby. There's something like 50 species of macropod in Australia, which macropods are kangaroos, wallabies, the quokka, all those. I know the Bennett's wallaby, which on the mainland we call the redneck wallaby. South Tasmanians call them Bennetts. Bennett's wallabies are in the pet trade over in America. Want to see a Rosella parrot, Tasmanian 2, 1 red-capped. I'd love to do lots of videos on birds. The issue is they just don't do as well. And a lot of bird videos do, but I think a lot of our subscribers subscribe because they like reptiles. So I'd like to do more bird videos, but I've got to space them out. Otherwise we start losing subscribers. Do I have Asian house geckos? I don't have Asian house geckos. I don't live far enough north. We've got a video on the Asian house gecko that from when I caught something up in Darwin, or working on a holiday, up in Darwin. But yeah. All right. So this girl here, smallest venomous snake we're likely to get out. Possibly one of the scariest to work with because she's got the fastest strike of any snake in this room, and she's a contender for the fastest striking snake on the planet. This is the death adder, common death adder, this girl here. So she's the biggest of the death adders. And she is, yeah, a fairly impressive snake. But this girl here, so there's a few species of death adders. There's a lot of debate at the moment over how many species of death adders there are. Some people keep classifying, hang on, I'll put you down for a second. Some people keep classifying them as several more species than there are. And some people keep lumping them together. But either way, you've got several species of death adders. You've got commons, northerns, rough-scaled, things like this. But yeah, they're very, very fast-striking snakes. Cool thing about the death adder is her name is a little bit misleading. So the name was originally the death adder, just because they live a different lifestyle to other venomous snakes. So rather than being large, active snakes that sort of were easy for people to see, they'd sit there and they'd rely on camouflage so much, the early settlers would step on them. So they'd assume that they were deaf and they couldn't hear them coming. I can't see these comments, so I'll put it down in a second. But they'd assume that they can't hear them coming, and the name deaf adder came from there. The other thing is, they're not even actually adders, which is particularly confusing. So, the adder, or true adders, come from Europe, England, places like that, and they're not related. They're in the viper family, whereas death adders are in the adder family. So yeah, not related at all. But because they look similar to the snakes that people remembered over in England, they got their name from there. Do I have some outback snakes? Can you have any whip snakes? Do I have collets? I don't have collets at the moment, but as far as the outback snakes goes, like I've got the Centralian carpet I got out before. I don't know, it depends on what you call the outback. Like Australians generally don't. Where's the outback start? Where's the outback end? I don't know. A lot of our snakes you could argue are outback snakes, but Central Australia, the only species I have at the moment would be the Centralian carpet. They're not true adders, and even South Africa, Frendigo, they've got some pretty interesting. Yeah, they've got things like puff adders and things like that. So they're very cool. We should do another video on the leaf-tailed gecko. I'd love to do a video on the leaf-tail. I've got some friends with leaf-tails at Lilydale High School. They said I can go and film their leaf-tails and do a video over there. I've just got to wait until lockdown's finished because I'm in regional Victoria. I don't want to say we're out of lockdown. We still can't visit people's houses, but I'm allowed to, go to the shops. Melbourne is completely locked down, so I'm not allowed to go into Melbourne at the moment to film there. Dork, forget to leave thumbs up. Don't forget to leave thumbs up, guys. Can I please record the sound operation house? I'm guessing you mean of an Asian house gecko. I can't record the sound of an Asian house gecko. I live in a place where we don't get them. Why do geckos curl the tiles on the wall? Don't know. Sorry. What native geckos do we get in Victoria? We get thick-tailed geckos, Underwoodiesaurus millie. Marble geckos, which are, like the skink equivalent of a gecko. They're everywhere. There's actually no geckos in my area, though. I live too far south. But if I go a little bit north, you do get them. Sorry, Tamara, I had to make fun of that. Once you go up into northwestern Victoria, like if you're going into the Mallee, you get all sorts of like southern spiny-tailed geckos. You get jeweled geckos and stone geckos. And there's lots of geckos up in like the Mallee Wimmera area, but my area is a little bit too cold. Found this tiny orange and black jumping spider and he decided to live on my front door. He's friendly. Why do I listed split? Sorry, I don't get that. Do lace monitors interact with Bell's phase lace monitors in captivity? Yeah, so Bell's phase lace monitors and regular lace monitors are the same species. It's like saying do white people interact with black people in society. They don't look at them and differentiate each other. So they breed back and forth with each other all the time. I want a jumping spider. Jumping spiders are cool. I probably won't keep any other spiders. It's not really worth it for shows. What happens when you wake up at 4 a.m. day? Watch a video about Australia's vampire bat. Yeah, the ghost bat. Ghost bats are pretty cool. I don't like people calling the Australian vampire bat though, because like vampire bats already get a bad rap. And bats in general get a bad rap and they don't eat. Why do lizards spit? None of our lizards spit. Yeah, so I don't like referring to them as vampire bats because they don't suck blood. There's only 3 species of bat in the world that drink blood. There's 3 different vampire bats. They're all in Central and South America. Can we keep marsupial moles? No place has ever successfully kept marsupial moles long term. So yeah, it's just not viable. They don't do very well in captivity and you never ever see them. Do I think Australia will reopen to international visitors next year? You want to come visit? I'd love you to come visit Eccleston. I don't know when we're going to open up. Dingo, my mate over in South Africa, he's been wanting to come to Australia now since like 2020, and 2022 is not looking hopeful. Yeah, I want to see bandicoots too. I live in a place, there's not bandicoots like running around the paddocks out here, but the eastern barred bandicoot, which is like this, I'd say it's the smallest of the bandicoots. It was considered extinct in Australia, and it was rediscovered in my town, in Hamilton, at the tip, living in disused car bodies. And there was 11 of them caught, which as far as we could tell was the last of them on mainland Australia. And they were relocated to a fenced enclosure just on the other side of town and bred up. And today there's thousands of them, not in that enclosure, but they've been basically breeding up and they've been taking them out of that enclosure and they've reintroduced them to French Island and Phillip Island. Am I going to get on that podcast? Yeah, but we've been talking about a podcast, me and a wildlife carer friend. It comes down to when she's able to do it. Like, she's a wildlife carer and she definitely doesn't want to commit to anything at the beginning of spring because it's her main season for animals, orphans and stuff coming in. And also she's got 2 kids. I've got a kid and another kid on the way, but we will do a podcast one day. Probably won't be Wicked Wildlife. It'll be something between me and her. But yeah, if you do want to see a podcast on wildlife, guys, and you already support our page, look up Hamilton Wildlife Shelter. They're our local wildlife carer. We've been dealing with them for a long time. They're run by fantastic people. And yeah, they're who we were talking about maybe doing a podcast with. So yeah, support Hamilton Wildlife Shelter and tell them you want to hear a podcast with their wildlife rescue stories. I wish you'd do a video on the platypus. Be careful, platypus have venom. I'd love to do a video on platypus. Unfortunately, not many facilities keep them. We get platypus here on the farm, but it's not like I could just go and catch one. It's going to be, like kicking and squealing and trying to inject me with its venom. I need to find a zoo or something that's got some tame ones that I can hold and do the video we do. But yeah, platypus video is definitely on the cards. Keeping southern black-lipped python for a beginner. I'm not familiar with what the southern black-lipped python is. If it's not an Australian species, it's not my area of expertise. Yeah, black-lipped python, it's got me confused. You want to see turtles? All right, we can see some turtles. I did ask if anybody wanted to see turtles before, and nobody answered. So I'm like, they must think it's boring. Ooh. Hey. Got to be careful getting turtles out because there's 2 crocodiles in there. All right, just soaking wet. See, this is the boy. So this is the eastern long-necked turtle. We've got a couple of them in here. They live outdoors, and every winter I just pick 2 to basically come indoors. So I've got some that are awake for shows, but this one here is pretty well full grown. That's about as big as they're gonna get. Eastern long-necked turtle. Why don't the crocodiles try to eat the turtles? They're basically just too big. If anything, I have the opposite issue. How do you tell the sex? So tail size, males have a longer tail than a female, or the vent's close to the end of the tail. But also, males will have like is it concave or convex? Basically, males have a shape of the shell to basically fit on top of a female's shell. So, what are the native turtles of predators in Australia? Things like dingoes will certainly dig up their eggs. Goannas love to eat eggs of any description. They like crocodile eggs, turtle eggs. So as far as eggs go, that's probably their main predators. Once they hatch, bigger turtles, bigger fish, crocodiles definitely eat turtles. But even a lot of our water birds, sea eagles and things like that, they'll take small turtles as well. Once a turtle's this big, in southern Australia, it's pretty well sweet. Nothing is going to eat this guy in southern Australia. Up north is still like M&Ms for crocodiles. So, long-necked turtles. Wish you had pig-nosed. I'd love to have pig-nosed turtles. Unfortunately, I've been offered pig-nosed turtles. I've got friends who've kept them. I just won't keep them. In my opinion, I don't have a facility that I'd be happy putting pig noses in. I think they need very big enclosures, and they don't do well being pulled out for anything like that. Are there gators in Australian zoos? Yeah. So I've worked with a fair few gators. Where's the other turtle I've got in here? I'm just going to make sure I don't put my hand under somewhere there's a crocodile. The little short neck's right at the wrong end. Yeah, I can't reach the short neck turtle. So yeah, there is gators in Australian zoos. Nick, if Australia ever opens, could you visit me? You're more than welcome to, Val. Just because you're such a long-term subscriber. But we do live, we're not in a capital city. So it's not like somebody could fly in and just visit. But I'm sure we could work something out. How fast can a turtle run? Turtles are a lot quicker than people imagine. We used to do turtle races at a zoo I worked at in North Queensland, where we had thousands and thousands of Crefts turtles living up in the wild in North Queensland. Me and that new podcast, It's All the Rage with the guys that love their geckos. Oh, no, gecko people, huh? They're good guys. But yeah, so we used to catch these Crefts turtles and feed them all. We'd just pick 2 and we'd divide the whole audience into 2. And they'd all get to cheer for their turtle. So turtles are surprisingly quick. I don't want to say they're cheaters, but they're quicker than people think. Eastern water dragons are huge. I bet you have What about Boyd's forest dragons? I don't keep Boyd's. I've kept Boyd's, but I don't want to have a massive collection. Like I've had many more animals than what I have now. But I don't want to get animals just for the sake of getting animals. Especially if I don't have shows on, you know, we can't do shows. So I'm not going to get animals just to have gecko people. They're not just gecko people. They've got, one of them's got a cool monitor. Actually, they've got a few cool monitors. I was sharing a table, sort of sharing a table with them. Elliot. Yeah, Elliot watches everything. Unfortunately, he doesn't like being held. But he's always curious and watching. And Lucy, the Lacey, started to get a lot more confident. When she first came in here, she spent, I don't know if you can see Lucy, she's over the other side. You can see her tail. So when Lucy first moved in here, when she came to me, she's always hiding. Whereas now she'll watch me all the time. And that's the best way to get a tame monitor. Don't pull them out, don't handle them, don't force them. Just let them get curious. And that's the best way to, what do I want to show us? I'll get out something to show in a second. How's Lucy doing? What do I feed her? She gets whatever anything else doesn't eat. So somebody was asking about alligators before. And yeah, there's quite a few alligators in Australian zoos. There's not many crocodilians in general, but there is alligators. Head of a zoo in Australia called Wild Action, owned by Chris Humphrey. Wild Action Zoos owns 2,000 animals in his house. Yeah, I know Chris relatively well. I spent a little bit of time there when I was younger. So he's got a lot of animals. He'd be feeling the pinch just like everybody else. He's in Victoria. You know, we've been locked down for basically on and off for the last 2 years. Why is there a river named Alligator River in Australia? Early Australians basically called freshwater crocodiles and saltwater crocodiles alligators. Beats me why. Same reason we call Death Adders. Silly Australians. There's the East Alligator River. There's the Alligator River. I used to live in Alligator Creek. A lot of places get named like that. We're going to get out an eastern brown snake tonight. Thank you, Samara. I'm getting sidetracked. We'll get out a brown snake tonight. I'll move this back. I don't know how he's going to behave, so we'll see how he goes. But we're going to get out the eastern brown. For those of you who don't know, the eastern brown snake, we've got 2 of them here. And we're going to get a rover tonight. Can I please go to a place where there's a Komodo dragon and smell the breath? Hang on. And smell its breath to see if it's stinky or not. I've got some friends who work at a zoo in Cairns, and they said I can film with their Komodo if I can get to Cairns. But we're not allowed to visit Queensland from Victoria at the moment. So, yeah. All right, guys. We'll get out Rover, who is one of our brown snakes. He's the smaller of our 2 brown snakes. Rearrange these. He's the smaller of our 2 brown snakes. It doesn't necessarily mean he's the better on the handle. I'm not going to say either of them are charming. But he's probably the prettier of the 2. Alright. So, this is Rover. Rover is the eastern brown snake, which is the second most venomous snake in the world. Stop twitching. It's the second most venomous snake in the world. Leading cause of snake bite and snake bite death in Australia. And the reason this species bites so many people, hang on. I'm not going to answer your messages for a bit, guys, because we're going to try and work with him on the ground a little bit, just where he's a little bit more comfortable. So yeah, the eastern brown snake's the second most venomous snake in the world, bites more people than any other species in Australia, and the reason it bites so many people is basically just because it's got a big distribution. It lives over a huge section of Australia. So you find eastern browns from the top end of Queensland, through pretty much the whole state of Queensland, all of New South Wales, most of Victoria, most of South Australia, and parts of the Northern Territory. So a lot of Australians come into contact with eastern brown snakes. And as a result, a lot of people get bitten by eastern brown snakes. It wasn't always this way. When Europeans first arrived in Australia, we basically lived along the coast, which isn't ideal brown snake habitat, and not too many people were killed by brown snakes. The tiger snake used to be the leading cause of snake bite death. But today, it's the eastern brown. Fortunately for Australians, the eastern brown has very short fangs, about 2 millimeters long. So jeans, boots, pretty good snake bite protection from an eastern brown. Whereas if you're bitten by a snake, many times less venomous, but with bigger fangs, who cares how venomous it is? If it can get through your boots, it can ruin your day. But because of those short fangs and the propensity to give dry bites, something like 80% of brown snake bites don't actually need anti-venom. And it's just because they don't always inject venom, whether they're not injecting it or whether the fangs aren't breaking through the clothing and the skin. But as a result, we're very lucky because the 20% that do get through still result in more snake bite deaths than any other snake we have. So if they were all fully loaded, I suppose, there'd be a lot more again. Say hello, Rover. So we do have two brown snakes, like I think I said before. This one's Rover. We've got the bigger one, Rowdy, who was in one of our videos, not last week, the week before. And he's getting to be one of the biggest brown snakes that we have. Well, biggest brown snakes that I've ever seen. But they are very cool snakes. They're a little bit flightier than a lot of our other venomous snakes. A little bit trickier to handle sometimes. But he's been good tonight. So there you go. Alright, we're going to move this camera back up so I don't have to stare at my legs. As pretty as they are. Got to ghost people. Catch you. No worries, Kyle. Have a good one. Thank you very much for popping by. Banjo frogs. What about them and bell frogs? I like banjo frogs and bell frogs. I can't get crucifix frogs, but Lilydale High School, they've got some crucifix frogs, which are cool. Wow, Rover is huge. He's not that big. He's the second biggest of our two brown snakes. Do I have any reptiles from the Northern Territory and Western Australia? I do. Maybe we'll get out BW or Natasha. She's in a bag because her big thing's still in the other shed. And she's been up here to get the last bit of skin off her. So this species, I'm about to get out, is found in Western Queensland, the Northern Territory, and Western Australia. All right. Does Rowdy have faint stripes? Yeah, he might have faint stripes. To be honest, I'm usually looking at his head when I've got him out. But I reckon you're right. I reckon he's got very, very faint stripes. So yeah, this girl here, her name is Natasha. I've gotten into the habit of calling her BW. But she is an olive python. She's actually the biggest snake we have, and she's still growing. But this species, the olive python, is found from the top end from Western Queensland, like Mount Isa, across the top sort of third of the Northern Territory, and into Western Australia. They skip a couple of 100 kilometres, and then they pop up again in the Pilbara in Western Australia. G'day, Gordon. How are you, mate? So yeah, species found across the tropical north. Jeannie, there was a guy killed in the States by his pet cassowary. Yes, cassowaries are capable of killing people. They've killed at least 2 people in Australia. Both were cases where male cassowaries with chicks were responsible for killing people. Yeah, love a healthy thin olive. Yeah, most olives are olive pythons. For those of you who know olive pythons, they're awesome snakes, and they're pretty popular in the pet trade, and I can see why. But maybe 9 out of 10 olive pythons I see are morbidly obese, and I can see why. Like, when people get an olive python, it's kind of like if you buy a Great Dane. Nobody buys a Great Dane hoping they end up with a small Great Dane. They buy it because they wanted a big dog. So they buy this, Great Dane, a big dog, and they want it to be big. And olive pythons are sort of much the same. People buy an olive python and they don't want it to be 2 or 3 metre olives. And olives from Darwin only reach about 3 metres long. They want it to be the 4.5 metre animal they saw at a show one day. So they feed it and feed it and feed it. But regardless of how much you feed it, if his parents and his grandparents were only 2.8 metres long, he's not going to grow to be 4 metres. No matter how much I eat, I'm never going to be 6'2". My parents weren't 6'2". My grandparents weren't 6'2". And as a result, I think a lot of olive pythons are morbidly obese. Have I heard of northern gliders? Those flying squirrel yeah. So northern gliders are what we basically now call the savanna glider. So yeah, the sugar glider, which is found across northern Australia, or found across pretty much all of northern and eastern Australia, was a few years ago broken into 3 species: the sugar glider, the creft glider, and the savannah glider, which is found across the northern parts of Australia. Yeah, savannah glider is what that northern glider is referred to as. Would I keep ollies outside in summer? I probably won't. It's probably doable, but like our summer here is not like up there. Like even though it's cooler, like cool there compared to the natural range, our summer here we'll get a 47-degree day, and then the next day will be 20 degrees, and then we might have a 15-degree day out of nowhere. So I'd be forever pulling them in and taking them out, pulling them in, taking them out. I am wanting to long term build a semi-outdoor enclosure for my crocs, but you know, I suppose being permanent. I want to have it set up in a way that's going to be permanent off groundwater, which comes out of the ground pretty warm. The olives I'll probably keep inside, rather than just worry about them. I do have a couple of like portable sunning enclosures that, you know, things can go out for a day here and a day there. But am I in Queensland? No, I used to live in Queensland. I live in Victoria. Can I keep a couscous? No. I don't think any facility in Australia keeps couscous. We do get spotted couscous in Australia and common couscous, but they're endangered. Do I have a wombat? We do have a wombat. Her name is Boo. She's got her own Facebook page, Boo the Wombat. Can I keep crocs to adults? Yeah, good question, Coop. So when people find out we got crocs, a lot of people say, when do you have to get rid of them? Because in other states, they've got like size restrictions. In Queensland, private people can't keep crocs, but educators like me can keep crocs in Queensland until they're 1.2 metres, and they have to get rid of them. In the Territory, you can keep a croc in the middle of the city up until it's 60 centimetres, and then you have to move them on. Here in Victoria, we have no size limits on our crocodiles. So, you know, there's people that keep adult crocodiles in Victoria. What we do have is Parks and Wildlife under their code of practice have like an enclosure requirement. And I don't remember the exact numbers off the top of my head, but it reads something like, you know, the water, the length of the water must be 2.5 times the length of the crocodile, and the length of the land must be 1.5 times the length of the crocodile. So rather than saying you've got to get rid of him because he's 3 foot or 6 foot or whatever, it just gets to a point where you can't meet the standards anymore, and people move on their crocs there. But yeah, if you can meet the standards, you can have a 4 or 5 metre salty in Victoria. How you're going to heat it is a whole other issue. But yeah, you can legally keep your crocs as long as you want. Can you see the wombat? Val, I'd love to show you the wombat. Unfortunately, she's like 30 kilos and she lives a fair walk from here. But there is a bunch of videos. I'll put them up on our Patreon group. You're in the Patreon group. I'll share some videos of Boo the Wombat in the Patreon group on Facebook, okay? Hate to raise up some crocs and send them off. Yeah, especially considering, you know, I know a lot of people who buy crocodiles from croc farms, and I've got nothing wrong with croc farms. But people who buy crocodiles from croc farms, they keep them for a couple of years and they say, I'm going to send it back to croc farm, and they'll send me another one. And they have this image that they're going to send it back and it's going to become a breeder and it's going to live the next 100 years. If you send a crocodile back to a croc farm, it's going to become handbags. They do not want humanized crocodiles that are not scared of people. Croc farms want crocodiles that when you go in the enclosure, run back into the water so that they can mow and they can clean. They don't want the crocodile that chases the public around. And that's what pet crocodiles grow into. Just watch my spotted python video. I think you might get one. Spotted pythons are very cool snakes. Have I heard of rabbit rats? Can you breed? I don't know what rabbit rats are. I've bred rabbits and I've bred rats, but can I keep kangaroos, paddymmelons, and wallabies? I can keep, yeah, several species of kangaroos, paddymmelons, and wallabies. Unfortunately, I don't, because they're just not, they're not useful for shows. I can't stuff a 6-foot red kangaroo in a bag and take him to school. But yeah, I can keep them, and I have kept wallabies and stuff in the past. Call wombats land koalas. I used to call koalas tree wombats. Because, you know, koalas and wombats, for those of you guys who don't know, are basically, they're the closest cousins of each other. So koalas and wombats are pretty closely related. They both fit in a family of animals called wombatids or wombatidae, which literally means wombat-looking animals. And the reason I think koalas are tree wombats more than wombats are land koalas is if you look at the whole family of wombatids, they're basically animals that are all wombat-like, and the koalas are the outliers. Whereas it's not like they're all koalas and the wombat climbed down. And there's a bunch of things that are a pretty good indicator, you know, like most arboreal animals have tails. Koala is the only arboreal marsupial not to have a tail, and it's because it evolved on the ground. They evolved from a wombat-looking animal, had a pouch that faced backwards. Because on the ground, facing backwards means that the baby doesn't get hit in the head every time mum crawls over a rock or a log. It means that it's not going to fill with dirt when mum's digging. So it worked well. Koalas go up trees. Suddenly backwards is straight down. Koalas have turned it to their advantage because baby koalas have to eat their mum's poo. So it means you can have breakfast in bed. But yeah, so koalas are tree wombats more than wombats are land koalas. Why does Australia use catch bags for pythons, monitors, venomous snakes? I've heard Australians do use these. Yeah, most Australians use catch bags. Like I got pillowcases and stuff lying all over the reptile room. Why do we use them? Personal preference. If I am catching venomous snakes, usually what I carry out is a bin. I like bins for venomous snakes because I like to be able to see where they are. I do have some catch bags that have been given to me, and I have the corners then stitched shut so I can use the corner to tip them out. But we use them because it's safety. It keeps our hands away from the animal. Yeah, it's just a popular way to do it. So, can I keep any native insects from my state? Yeah, we can get insects aren't protected in Victoria or in Australia, so we can keep any insects we want. Keeping them is the hard part. They don't all do very well in captivity. So, yeah, there's no reason why we can't. So speaking about this girl here, before I pop her away and we get something else out for the night, BW or Natasha, her name is Natasha, but she's named after the Black Widow from the Marvel movies. And she came to me, the reason she's got the name Black Widow or Natasha, is the reason she came to me is she belonged to a friend who was a breeder. And people ask why I don't breed. Another reason I don't breed, Natasha is a great example. It's not all easy. Natasha ate 3 different males that she was put with over the years before he gave up trying to find her a boyfriend. So the Black Widow she became. But she's a good girl. She goes to schools and birthdays and kindergartens and whatnot now. All right, guys, we're going to wrap things up soon, I think. But we've got a few more questions. How do snakes regulate their body in the Australian heat? Great question. Good on her. We don't need no man. We don't need no man. I hope your bloke reads that tomorrow. So snakes maintain their body heat in a few different ways. Basically, they do it behaviorally. So, you know, human beings being endothermic. Endothermic means inside temperature. We create our temperature from the inside. Reptiles are ectothermic. So people misunderstand this and they think that reptiles are just cold. Just like a mammal, they have a temperature that they need to stay at to be able to function, but they have to maintain that behaviorally. So an olive python like this girl here, when she wakes up at night time or just on dusk, she might come and sit on the road for a little while. She might try and soak up that little bit of warmth before the sun goes down, and then she'll get enough warmth to go and get a feed. And she'll get a feed and then she'll go to a hiding place after a feed. And her hiding place might be between 2 big boulders. And that'll put out a little bit of warmth as well. When she gets hot, you know, if she's out in the middle of the day, if she's hiding between those boulders and it gets too hot, she'll go deeper into the boulders to cool down. So something like a venomous snake. It'll wake up during the day, come and bask for a little while, and then it'll go and find some shade. So they'll spend the day when they get too warm, they go for shade. When they get too cold, they go back out to warm. Which sounds very inefficient. You know, they're always going from warm to cold to warm to cold. But actually, it's incredibly efficient. You see, something like 80% of what we eat, well, 80% of what we used to eat, today we eat more than we need. 80% of what we used to eat, human beings, goes just to burning into body heat, to temperature. So per kilo, these guys need a lot less. This girl here, she gets a rabbit or a hare, and she might get that 6 or 7 times a year. I don't feed her very often at all. She'd take it every week if I offered it to her, but she doesn't need it. Same thing as our crocodiles. I used to feed big crocodiles, and they used to get 2 or 3 little hunks of pig, and we wouldn't feed that crocodile again for a few days. If we used to have a dead rooster to try and get the crocodile out of the water and lure it around, and if we lost the rooster to the crocodile, that crocodile would go to sleep for 7 days. So, can I please ask you to tell Mr. Crackles Mr. Crackle, stop being naughty. Do olives have live babies or lay eggs? So all pythons are egg layers. There's no live bearing pythons. That's one of the main differences with with pythons and boas. So boas give birth to live young, with only 2 exceptions. Pythons all lay eggs. I think most snakes in Australia are egg laying, few born. Yeah. So we do have some live bearing snakes: death adders, tiger snakes, red bellies, copperheads. Most of our cold climate snakes are live bearers. I've been told to handle snakes often when they're young, but it seems to make them more flighty. Worry about human hands. Any tips or ideas? A lot of people say, you should handle a snake when it's young and it'll tame down. I don't think it's all that important. Most of my snakes come to me as adults and they've been unhandled. Like, I'll get Quasimodo out. Quasi hadn't been handled at all when I got him. He was snappy. He was, I don't want to say mean, but he was fearful. He wasn't a good handler. And within about 2 or 3 months, I had him pretty good to handle. Within about 6 months, I had him going to schools and birthday parties. So, yeah, you don't need to handle a snake young just to get it tame. But the advantages of it is if you handle a snake young, when it bites you, you're going to be less inclined to give up. Whereas people get bitten by a 6 foot or a 10 foot. If Natasha came to me, and she was this big and she was wild and not friendly, most people would get bitten once and think, you know what, I'm going to use a hook. Not handle that snake anymore. Whereas you get bitten by a small snake, you go, you know what, it's not that bad, I'll keep working on it. So most of my snakes don't get handled other than on Tuesday nights when we do our live stream, they pretty much all get pulled out. Or most of them get pulled out. And you'll see the venomous snakes, I rotate through. So I use one lot 1 week, one lot the next week, change them out. I don't handle them much because they don't need to be handled much. So yeah, I don't handle them all that much at all. They get handled on Tuesday night, and then if I need to clean an enclosure or feed somebody or give somebody a soak or something like that, they get pulled out. Yeah. I've got a blue tongue lizard called Quasimodo. Yeah, so this is a coastal carpet python called Quasimodo, and it's got the name because he's got a dinky eye. He came from a zoo that basically just couldn't look after him when COVID hit. That they couldn't keep the stuff on. Ever heard of sandstorms? I have. They're cool snakes. Favorite sea snake is the olive sea snake. Does Australia need sea snake antivenom? Australia produces sea snake antivenom, so we do have sea snake antivenom available in Australia. It's much harder to produce, because you can't just keep 200 sea snakes in a room. But yeah, we do produce sea snake antivenom in Australia. Coastal taipan, wow, it's big, found in the Northern Territory. Yeah, so coastal taipans are found from the top end of Western Australia through the Northern Territory. They're not super common in the Northern Territory. You get into Queensland, they're a lot more common from like North Queensland, tropical North Queensland, through Cairns, through the basically sugarcane plantation country, all the way officially down in New South Wales. Ever seen a sea snake, Nick? How dangerous are people can enter the mangroves? I know you have mangrove snakes. We do have a few species of mangrove snakes. I've never seen sea snakes in the wild. I've seen them in captivity, obviously, but they're not particularly dangerous. Because they don't want to bite people. The people at most danger from sea snakes are fishermen in like Southeast Asia, where they've got big, long nets. They're pulling them up often at night time. Sea snakes in there. They don't look by their hand. They grab it and they get bitten. That's the vast majority of sea snake bites around the world. Is there such thing as a sea viper? There's a carpet viper, which is just another name for the saw-scaled viper. Yeah, not sure. All right, guys, we're going to wrap things up there. I reckon we've been here for exactly 1 hour. But yeah, as always, I want to say, thank you for popping by. I appreciate it. Nicholas and Angel, they mean a lot to us, and they're the reason why we get to keep all this stuff. We managed to run because of our patrons. I appreciate every single one of you, but our patrons, we all owe a little bit to them. They're the reason we managed to keep going. So if you see them, give us a thanks. On top of that, if you want to, we do have merch. We've got jumpers with Wicked Wildlife, t-shirts with Wicked Wildlife. I don't have my mug, but we've got Be Nice to Wildlife mugs. And we're working on patron-only merch as well at the moment. So there's some stuff like that. But the biggest thing you guys can do for us, is make sure you hit the thumbs up button so more people see our videos. Make sure you subscribe to get your friends too, because I always say it, but the goal of this channel, we don't want to get big. We don't want to get big because we want to be famous. We want to get big so that we can make a difference. The bigger our channel gets, the more we can contact zoos and wildlife parks and say, you know, look, we've got 500,000 people who watch this video. Can we film with your platypus? Instead of them saying, oh, look, your last video's got 400 views. I'm sorry, but it's just not worth it for us. So, you know, the more people that we can reach, the more impact we can make. And that's what this channel is all about. But I'm going to wrap things up there, guys. It's been a big week, but I will see you on our live stream next week. Check on back for Sunday. We've got a very cool video coming out if I can get it filmed between now and then. But other than that, guys, thanks for listening. Have a good one. Take care.